So the title of this video is Ukraine Shells Orphan Housing Project in Russia.
I'm Patrick Lancaster, and right now we are in Shebekino, Russia. This is not Donbass or anything that might be internationally recognized as Ukraine. This is proper Russia. And right behind me, you see many homes here, which, as you see, some have damage. This area is a governmental project of small homes that are gifted to people who lost their family and their.
So where are we, guys? Well, it looks like we are at a construction site of some sort of housing project with some brand spanking new buildings completed and some of them not. They got the Russian equivalent of Tyvek wraps around them. Um, Looks like maybe some of them are falling apart a little bit or something. I don't know. Like someone showed up or maybe pulled down some of the gutters or some of the siding is on the ground. It's weird, right? Because like the building on the left has a couple of pieces of what looks like siding. Maybe they're getting ready to install it or something. I don't know, right? But do you see any footpaths, right? No. Why? Because nobody lives in there, right? All you see is heavy equipment tracks, right? Tire tracks, right? Grass is growing, or just foliage, right? No one even planted any kind of grass there. There's just shit growing randomly where it can, right? There's no footpaths anywhere, right? Nobody lives there. It looks like the project has been halted, maybe due to money issues, sanctions, so on and so forth, right?
These people by the government. Now we can see the damage here. Just the day before yesterday.
We see a pile of siding in one spot, right? What is that? What is that? How did that pile get there, right? Is it just broken pieces that didn't work that they piled up somewhere? Or I don't know, was somebody ripping off the siding and stealing it and they got caught in the middle of doing that or something? I don't know. Anyway.
A shell came down right here in the middle of these homes. And this home.
Where's the shell? Right? Or the shrapnel? Or where is it? Where is it?
Took damage. We can see the siding, all the windows all knocked out. This home.
So a shell hit the ground and blew the siding, just the siding of that home. Okay. And what's weird is that in some spots, or in this one spot, the siding looks shredded or whatever that is, right? It looks shredded to little pieces, and then a little bit further down over there, it's just all piled up, right? Now, if a shell hit this, right, where's the evidence of fire, right? Burnt ground. Wouldn't some of these
and the Kharkov region of.
houses potentially be on fire, right? Or have some evidence of being burned? And what kind of shell is this, right? If they're shooting it across the border, so probably some pretty long range, mid range stuff, right? So bigger shells, I would think. I'm no expert. I'm just, a layman trying to make sense of this stuff. Wouldn't that little hole be bigger? And where's the shell?
You can say these homes for orphans, grown orphans by now, but
Grown orphans. doesn't quite hit the same, does it?
were hit. There was a kindergarten also hit, and all this happened in the last 2 days. This was the day before yesterday.
Show us the kindergarten, right? Show it to us. He doesn't.
This was the day before yesterday, and yesterday there was an orphanage hit. We're going to show you that as well.
Or maybe he will.
to continue investigating all of these sites
Investigating or spinning a story?
that were hits and find out why they were hit. Was Ukraine
Why is this fucker so shifty, man? Why does he talk so weird?
trying to target these homes that were given by the Russian government to orphans? I mean, what
Say orphans one more time, motherfucker.
can we say here? How could this be? Why is this? So we're just gonna push forward.
Push. You're gonna spin and push a narrative. Is he gonna be able to explain this potentially, right? Is he? So then he interviews some presumably Russian guy and asks him, well, can you tell us what's happened here, right? And the guy says, who knows? Okay, so there's, according to this man, electric power plant, some kind of power plant, and a little substation in the other direction, right? And he says that that was hit.
As the investigation goes, here is an electric station that the man says was also hit. We can't confirm that.
Why not? Go over there and check it out. Go talk to the people that are there. Go see if there's any signs of it being hit. Why can't you confirm it, right? Aren't you investigating? So we're looking at soil. Some kind of a...
All right, and now we're just behind a supermarket center, a mall here in the city, and we can see this impact here. And there's actually two impacts, one here and the one in the parking lot. And we're going to have a look at the shrapnel that was sprayed across the back.
So there's a hole in the ground, right? Could be freshly dug, right? Where's the missile?
This mall and see what the damage is there. But this is one impact that happened in this field behind the mall, and then there's supposedly another impact, and possibly more in a sports center around the way.
So leading out from the hole and to the almost the top left of your screen where there looks to be like a piece of road or sidewalk or something, there are some kind of tracks, right? Like some kind of machine. This looks like a plowed field or something like that, right? Or maybe they're just planting grass there. We're hoping to. But it looks like something drove toward, in and out of the field toward and away from the hole, right? Maybe. I don't know. So then you have a hole in the asphalt with the man cleaning up some debris. And then looks like, well, what is that? Insulation foam, oh, being shot into some holes or something. Yeah, that looks like perhaps shrapnel holes, right? And some siding. Yeah, and they sprayed some of that liquid foam. And then he's standing next to some other hole in the ground. Maybe freshly dug. Maybe something hit it and made the hole, right? But there it is. What does he have to say?
Okay, now here is another impact right next to the sports center, and we've been able to find some shrapnel here in this crater. It seems to be not very heavy artillery,
Okay.
but maybe a 120 mortar or artillery, and we can actually see.
So he had some chunks of something in his hand. Kind of looked like rocks. But maybe it was chunks of metal. I don't know. Hard to tell, right? Is he picking them off the ground? Does he just have them in his hand? Or in his backpack?
See a photo of when the impact happened the day before yesterday on this.
Okay, so there's an impact on the sports center, apparently, and we see smoke, right? Okay. Everybody see the smoke?
This sports center here. We see that photo here. So we're gonna have a little closer look to see the situation in the building itself.
So this sports center had some kind of a tarp um, canvas or some kind of a fabric roof, right? Looks like maybe more holes in the wall with foam insulation or something being stuffed into the holes, right?
I can see
Or maybe just
impact
holes. Hard to
surfaces
say, right?
or where it came through. Ah, yes. There. Okay.
All right. So we saw smoke, right? So where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Where's the fire? Where is the evidence of fire? Is anything in there burnt?
Okay, and we can kind of piece together the situation in our head. We can see that it appears.
Can we? Oh, this guy's a clown. But yeah, it looks like something maybe went in through the roof and um, splattered the wall behind the net. But what's interesting is that with the little net, right? I don't know, maybe that fell later, but like there's no, that's not ripped up, but there's like pretty big holes in the wall, but the net in front of the wall is intact. So that's a little weird.
A round came through the plastic roof here, and you see the shrapnel here, and it came through, went down, and impacted here on the ground.
So there's like rain? No. Looks like they poured something on that hole, right? Because it's wet. So I'm just gonna say they poured water on it or something, right? There's water all over the place and not everywhere, just in certain. It looks like someone poured water on there, right? Okay. Presumably because it was on fire. Okay. So why isn't the tarp burned?
On the concrete floor, and all that shrapnel just flew up on the side here. Now,
Okay, but the net is untouched.
thank God that this sports center was not occupied by children or anyone else for that matter, because it could have been really bad. I mean, what reason could there be for targeting this sports center? I guess the same reason for targeting a kindergarten.
Same reason they targeted the Walmart parking lot, the same reason they targeted a freshly plowed field, and the same reason they targeted the ground, right? Ukrainians are shelling Russian soil, right? That should be the title.
Or an orphanage. No reason.
Where's the orphanage? Pretty cool. So this is the hole in the roof that the projectile, supposed projectile made, right? Okay. Where's the evidence of fire, right? It was smoking. There are no burns. Um, and it looks like it almost cut it right alongside the seam or something, right? Like a beautiful, perfect, clean cut. Very interesting. That stuff looks pretty legit, right? Clearly there was something hitting the walls and the mirror, right? Ah, yes, just in case you were confused, right? Where this man's allegiance lies.
So, no standing here. This is a sports center. We've walked through the whole complex here,
And we haven't seen any evidence of a fire, but tons of water. Hmm.
and there's no evidence of military presence, so no one can think any
Or an explosion.
rational reason that this would be targeted. They can't even say this was targeted because of infrastructure. No, this is a sports center where children play.
Oh, once again, children, orphans, right? Um, how do you know this thing was targeted, right?
I mean, we've shown you the whole thing. Just in this direction, I think is the exit, but let's have a look.
Let's.
There's a cafeteria.
Oh, so the mayor evacuated the orphan village, right? But not the sports center, right? Because there was no one in that little compound, right? Why didn't they evacuate these people? Okay, what does she have to say? At 10 we usually start lunches, but there were people and they were eating. And we started to serve the tables. Yes, there was a bang, but for us it's already a new norm.
Ну, знаете, учитывая то, что уже последнее, это для нас уже в последнее время почти норма стала. Конечно, норма не очень хорошая.
Certainly not a good norm, but a norm. Well, it's because your president decided to attack a sovereign country and, they're fighting back, maybe. That it bangs from time to time, but that shelling was heavy. Girls began to bustle. People went outside but didn't see anything.
Но почти норма стала, что как бы бахает и бахает. Ну, сильно ударил. Девчонки как-то засуетились.
The hit, she said that the hit was strong, right? She didn't say the shelling was heavy. But people, if the shelling was heavy, right, presumably lots of shells, people would see something, but they didn't see anything, right? She just said there was a loud bang. There was a big hit.
То есть люди были как-то вышли, посмотрели, вроде ничего не увидели. Второй раз ударила как бы.
And then it hit one more time and the third time.
А тут уже, наверное, на третьем как бахе, да, уже с фока вот, ну, как бы мы кафе сами по себе, а у них там администрация своя в спорткомплексе. Они стучат, говорят, быстро, быстро, артобстрел.
So, watching the Western news, right? And this is how you can, unfortunately, if you're interested in this stuff, this is kind of how you have to piece this shit together for yourself, right? Watch what both sides have to say. So, according to Western mainstream media and alternative, just like this guy, right? Western media, there was shelling in Belgorod, and they were targeting military infrastructure, right? I don't remember what it was exactly they said, but I think like a arms depot was one of the things they were targeting, right? So this sounds like a shell was flying overhead and the Russian defense shot it down, right? They hit it when it was in the air. That was the loud bang she heard. And then they heard two more hits, right? So shrapnel from the shell that they shot down went in through the roof, right? And potentially, I don't know, obviously, and did what it did. And another one hit in the parking lot, right? So that seems to add up. Or the ground, right? There were probably more shrapnel falling and, probably more bangs, or, if it landed in the soft ground, she didn't hear it, as opposed to it landing, or it was too far, right? As opposed to it landing on the concrete, right? Or something like that. So, yeah, these rockets or whatever they are getting shot down and the shrapnel is hitting the ground, right? Which is why there's no fire and some of the shit looks suspect, right? And this guy is probably retouching the photo, right? Adding some smoke, arranging some things. They're spraying water on the ground to make it look like something, and they're doing, this and that, blah blah blah, and lying about uh, orphans and things of that nature, right? People living in a community that looks like it wasn't yet populated, so on and so forth, right? So yeah, this is unfortunately what war looks like, right? When the other people start fighting back and war comes home, right? He can go and show us the power plant, right? Talk to people there, they'll let him in. If it's fucking Russia, or at least get some kind of witness testimony, something, right? They'll tell him what's up, maybe. But he didn't even try, right? To see if, well, because that's what the old man suggested, right? They targeted the electric company over there, and that was shrapnel, right? Again, maybe there was no damage at the plant, right? Because the missiles got shot down, and shrapnel hit, this little community there, right? That's most likely what happened, right? So she says she heard a loud bang and saw the roof slowly collapsing, right? And got out of there. It was so loud, blah blah blah, scary. All right, that's her testimony. Why are they back at work a couple days later? But the little orphanage was evacuated. Okay. Well, I'll tell you why. It's because they weren't targeted, right? It was, when you shoot these rockets down, right? It's random. You don't know where the shrapnel is gonna fall. So what's the point of? They would have evacuated this place if they thought that it was being a target, right? But it wasn't a target. That wasn't the target. Obviously, that's why they're still there. It doesn't matter where they go, right? Because it's random. Anywhere they are, they could get hit. So might as well just go back to work, right? Does lightning strike? It is stupid, right? This isn't like good rationale, right? But we believe, right? Be that just our beliefs. That's it, right? What's the fucking term? Superstition. Superstition, right? Does lightning strike twice in the same place, right? Might as well go back to work. So they asked the leadership to let them continue to work, right? And they let them do this, right? But they kicked out orphans out of their homes, right? Because Ukrainians are bad. Okay. Where are they housing all these people? This lady's house? The sports complex? And then he asks if this sports complex is a military target, right? And the lady says, no, obviously, right? Duh, stupid question. But there is a Russian energy systems management, right? Okay. The lady thinks that the Ukrainians want to intimidate them to destroy their way of life because they're Russian, right? Look, I think if the Ukrainians had enough shells to just shell all of Russia, they would indiscriminately. They probably would, right? Not indiscriminately, but they would go after military targets first and foremost, right? But they don't, supplies are very scarce. They don't just have an unlimited amount of missiles. They don't have long range missiles. Who knows what this particular unit in that area had, right? Maybe it was some partisans. Who knows who even did it, right? It might have been Russians, right? Like those Russians setting those recruitment offices on fire. You can't discount that either, right? Russians that are pro-Ukrainian. There's certainly lots of those people, but state propaganda in Russia tells them that that's, which is just a projection, right? That the Ukrainians just want to destroy their way of life, right? And then she goes on to say that, they do this so that we lose trust in our government and we go against our president, right? Which is, once again, she's just repeating Kremlin propaganda, right? Now, if Ukraine had the means to do such a thing, then they probably would, right? But they don't. They don't have the capabilities to be able to menace, terrorize, hurt enough Russian people to be able to bring about such change. They just don't have the military power, and they don't have enough munitions to be able to do this. So it makes no sense for them to target regular people, because the kind of impact, they have to be very, very economical with what they use, and the ammunitions that they have, and they have to go hit targets that will cause the greatest amount of damage, that will bring the greatest amount of spoils. Obviously, they're not gonna hit a babushka's house, because then she'll get mad and not vote for Putin, right? This is so stupid, right? Besides, the evidence is in the video. Like, it's pretty clear what happened there, right? There it is, right? They want to create a panic and make us blame our government, so that we start to demand to overthrow the government and make a revolution, and then they will all be happy, right? So all, I don't know, 25 of you who are affected by this psychologically, right? Maybe more, right? Because shells are flying overhead, and it is scary, right? So let's even say all of Belgorod. I don't know how many people live there, right? 2-3 days of shelling. Give it a week or two after that, you're gonna forget all about it. You're not gonna overthrow the guy. It's stupid. Come, she's just spitting Kremlin propaganda, right? So what's that building there? The red building in the background? I don't know. Could be something. Then you have the mall in the background there, that we saw the parking lot of, and maybe the sports complex, the blue thing. Yeah, then there's the collapsed roof, right? And then right next to it, maybe 30 meters, looks like PG&E, right? Russian PG&E, electrical company, right? Looks very official. Yeah, there you go. Russian power company, right? Looks like it didn't get hit, right? Because they shot the fucking shell down.
All right, so we moved a little bit farther away from the sports center itself, and now we can have kind of a more bigger picture on what the situation is. We can see the mall, two buildings down, then the sports center. Now at the mall, we saw the one impact in the parking lot, and the two in the field behind it. So that's three. And then we moved to the sports center, where we saw one on the walkway and field behind it, and then one went through the plastic bubble roof. Now that's 5 impacts hitting in and around the mall and sports center. Now we're trying to investigate our
Right? Don't mention the power company.
full list to see what the possible target was. Were they just trying to hit a mall and sports center or not? But not necessarily. Maybe. But here on the third door over, we see this is the Russian electric company center that.
So most people on YouTube don't watch videos to the very end, especially 20-something minute long videos. So right after he spun this whole story about how they're trying to kill little orphans and all this other fucking nonsense, right? At the very end of the video, just to be quote unquote fair, he suggests that maybe they were going after this.
That powers the city here, that gives the electric for this town. So unless you've been living under a rock, you know that Russia's been hammering the infrastructure across all of Ukraine. So maybe this is something that Ukraine is trying to start as well, hitting Russian infrastructure. And remember, this is Russia. This is not what's internationally recognized.
So yeah, there's Belgorod is a city on the border, right? There's no doubt Russian soldiers stationed there, or they're getting support from, the farthest point closest to Ukraine that's still in Russia, so better protected, relatively safe, I guess. They're getting support from here, right? So in any way you could mess up their supply lines, their source of support, you're gonna try to do that, right? It's a war, right?
Recognize this parts of Ukraine or anything like this. This is Russia. So we're just showing you what the situation is here. Now, one of the impacts we could tell that came from sort of that direction. Now, there's a couple possibilities. One is that it was fired somewhat at a large angle from the Ukrainian territory, but on the map it looks more like what a possibility has happened is Ukrainian sabotage groups possibly came across the border and fired mortars on this direction to possibly try to say that it didn't come from Ukrainian territory, so it couldn't have been Ukrainians. This could be something they're trying to do, but we're showing you the.
It could be that. It could also be uh, Russian partisan groups, right, that are sleeper cells or whatever, right, that are against their government. It could be people that don't give a shit about Ukraine but are anti-Putin and want to overthrow him. It could be Russian intelligence services that, I mean, like Putin has a guy try all of his food, right? He's paranoid that someone's going to take him out. He's been so for many, many years. He's got plenty of opposition in his own government, which is why he's been purging for so long, right? So this could be there could be sleeper cells and or people who are just against Putin and want him to fail so that they could take over the government, right? We don't really know. I think it's most likely probably Ukrainians, but you just don't know, right? That's the whole point. You don't know. So, but this is the weird part, right? If Ukrainians came across the border or it was Russians from inside Russia, right, trying to wreck this spot, and the border is only 3 kilometers away, right? What? They just barely crossed the border and stopped there? Why didn't they walk right up to this? Walk right up to it and send a couple of mortar shells and right into the building from 500 meters away, maybe tops, and just wreck the whole place. Why not? Is it because there's tons of military everywhere, right? And if so, could it be that the military was being targeted? I don't know. Do you listen to both sides and do your own research, I guess, if you're interested in this stuff. Ukraine shells Russian orphan housing project in Russia, right? I mean, this guy's a Kremlin propagandist, obviously, right? Right. So this is RT reporting on what happened in Belgorod, right? Power plant attacked in Russian city near Ukrainian border, right? So that lady was saying they got attacked on Wednesday. Maybe he was interviewing them Thursday or early on Friday, and Friday evening they finally hit the power plant, right? Because that's what they were aiming for. Or there's another power plant in Belgorod that they got, right? So this is what they're targeting, right? Okay. And here you have another source confirming what happened, right? And when shells hit the target, right? A target, things catch on fire somehow, right? So once again, they weren't shelling those places. It was shrapnel that landed there, right? There was no source, no evidence of any fire anywhere. They try to make it look like maybe blah blah blah. They put out a fire. Come on, man. It's all propaganda. So we're now in a village near Belgorod.
This city and village has come under intense attacks by Ukrainian forces.
What does that mean? Intense.
You can behind me see the House of Culture here in the center. This is a center square, and if we
Either this guy has major brain fog, which could be because he's pre-diabetic or something, doesn't take care of himself, doesn't sleep well, whatever, and or he's just bullshitting, right? He's very careful, trying to be very careful as to what he says. He's got this whole, he's not just reporting on what he sees, right? He's spinning a whole narrative. He's trying to stick to the script.
follow his shrapnel holes in the earth, we'll get to the areas that have taken an intense.
So it looks like, once again, maybe a missile was headed in that direction and it got shot down, right? And the momentum of one of the pieces of shrapnel, right, was flying in that direction and tumbled on the ground or something, right?
intense shelling. Now, it said that there was many civilian buildings hit by shelling, both
Many.
yesterday, a kindergarten, and just hours ago, there was
Many buildings. A kindergarten and
several. We're told the school and the House of Culture, which we can see behind it. Doesn't look like
school and House of Culture, right? So what? 3 buildings is many?
too much damage up front, but we'll see what the situation is. But this is Ukraine hitting the center of a civilian village.
Okay, so if that joint over there got hit, right, then probably another piece of shrapnel headed for something in that direction after the rocket was shot down, damaged the building a little bit.
In civilian buildings here in Russia. This isn't East Ukraine. This isn't something that's
Okay, so these are civilian buildings, they say, right? Whatever that means. We're not getting into that, right? Clearly, it's a government building where civilians are in sometimes. This shelling being at night, right? It's not likely that there's anybody in these buildings, right? It's the type of museum or whatever that you go to during the day, and the same goes for preschools and shit, right? So if now Ukraine might be choosing to hit the objects at night because they could, under the cover of night, get closer to these spots, okay, but it could also be one of the reasons why. It could be because they're going to minimize civilian casualties while targeting all these infrastructure, but whatever it is that they're targeting, right? It's less likely that there will be people there at night than during the day. So there you have it.
Internationally recognized as part of Ukraine. This is Russia, proper Russia, under fire from Ukraine.
So, right, they're at war. Ooh, wow, bad Ukrainians, right? So what does that say about Russia's full-scale war invasion of Ukraine, right? If Ukrainian is shelling some infrastructure insofar as we can tell right now, confirmed by both sides, just inside of Russia, right on their border, where from Russians draw military support, right? If that's bad, right, what do you say about what's been happening to all of Ukraine, right? Right, PO?
Now, of course, all of Ukraine is under fire from Russia right now. Over 30% of the electric infrastructure of Ukraine is down because of the attacks on the infrastructure from Russia. But we're here to show you what the situation is in...
Are Russians hitting civilians at all? This guy, he sprinkles bits of truth here and there, right? I mean, he can't get away from it, right? But that makes him quote unquote credible. Okay.
You deserve to see information from both sides of the line, not just what the mainstream media shows you and tries to lead you like sheep with.
Mainstream media tries to lead you like sheep with their information. The implication is misinformation or only one side of the story, right? Remember that, because we're going to meet some sheep at the end of this video. So here we're looking at the Dom Cultury, or House of Culture, right? It looks like that little piece of shrapnel that tumbled on the ground was in front of it back there, right? To the right, maybe, or maybe to the left. I'm not sure how we are oriented right now, but this looks like it got hit majorly, right? It got hit pretty hard by something. So could be, right? Obviously I don't know, but looking at the evidence, it looks like a rocket got shot down. A piece of the rocket, small piece of the rocket, tumbled in front of this place, right? But the most of the projectile still kept going in that direction, and it was, you have to assume it was hit off course when they hit it with something, right? It's not like these, or maybe, I don't know, it could be a piece of shit rocket too that just fell apart when it was almost right. It flew through all this land, all this territory, and then just fell apart in the air before it reached its target, right? At any rate, it's not likely that they were targeting this, right? That's not what the evidence bears out, in my opinion.
Вот. Это какой клуб?
Клуб, ДК.
Ага.
Дом культуры.
И это что это?
А это садик.
Это sorry, это
Да.
был обстрел вчера, да?
Да.
Ага.
А это сегодня. Вот.
Это сегодня,
И
да?
вот сегодня, да.
Ага. Club.
Since we're talking about culture, I have a video about culture in mind. Probably make it sometime soon. So he's asking if there were kids in the school. He's saying no, right? The attack most likely took place at night, right? So what's the point of targeting a school and a house of culture at night? It just doesn't make any sense, right? If you want to kill civilians, you do it during the day. So then Patrick over here goes to assume that they were targeting this when that's not what the evidence shows, right? So just ask the leading question, right? Why do you think they were attacking a school and a kindergarten? And the answer is that they need to destroy buildings. Like, that makes any fucking sense.
Remind me that the school here in Morum was hit, a direct hit.
Okay, if this was a direct hit by some kind of a rocket, you would see evidence of fire, right? Once again, there is no fire, right? Looks like a huge chunk of shrapnel hit it, right? At night when there was nobody there, or whenever it was, there was no one in there. Because that was their target, and they got a direct hit. Okay, so in some instances, the Ukrainian shells are so inaccurate, they're just hitting the ground and parking lot, right? Parking lots and whatever, right? Nothing. And then in some instances, they're so accurate, they hit right there, right on their target, right? Okay.
A shell. We can see one up there, the direct hit, and then on the ground just over is another one. And there's several around here. We're going to see.
Right, so there's a bunch of different shrapnel hitting all around there, right? Yeah, it looks like a pretty big rocket got shot down and splintered into a whole bunch of pieces that unfortunately hit a bunch of civilian buildings. But was it headed for those buildings? I don't think it's very likely. It doesn't make any sense. So there's no evidence of fire anywhere, right? As you look at these photos, this video, probably because the fireball was up in the sky when the shell got hit, right? And then the pieces that fell to the ground weren't explosive anymore. Right? There's nothing scorched, nothing's burnt, right? Because it wasn't a direct hit. So we're inside the school and there's no evidence of any explosions or anything. Tons of damage, obviously, but nothing's burnt, right? And the director of the school says that it happened at 1 p.m. So maybe this is the weekend or something, right? So, if it did happen during the day and no one died because there was no one in there, well, let's see.
2022 года.
And so at the school.
October 21st. So according to the school director, the school got hit on Friday, October 21st at 1 p.m.
School, да?
Школа,
Ага.
школа, вот. Можно снять, вот табличка школы.
Ага. Ага. И там, как я понимаю, это садик, да?
Детский сад, прямое попадание. И дом культуры.
Ага. So, садик это вчера, да?
Вчера садик попали, сегодня попали.
Once again, a direct hit, right? Well, yeah, it got hit directly, but was it really what he implies, right, by it?
Нам.
Ага. И клуб, да?
И да,
Ага.
клуб.
Понял.
Все для детей. Бьют исключительно по детям.
Можно
По гражданским объектам.
So according to this guy, USSR has a special military operation, and those are just terrorists, right? Complete and utter brainwashed, dumbfuck, spitting Kremlin propaganda. It is what it is. So when this guy is asked about, USSR destroying 30% of USSR sans Ukraine, when he's asked about destroying 30% of their electrical power grid, he says let our guys continue, God's work, essentially, right? But when something similar happens to them, right, not even nearly on the same scale, they're terrorists and they're all blah, blah, blah. Like, obviously you expect the guy to be biased, right? Because, well, it's just is what it is. He's chosen sides, right? Did he even have a choice? But I mean, you know, is this objective analysis, right? Okay, so apparently they evacuated the children from the school right at the beginning of the special military operation to protect them, right? Ukrainian intel probably knew about this, maybe not, but they attacked on a Friday, which is 2 days before a public holiday, right? So maybe they were discovered. They could have not given a fuck. But I'm just saying, right? They could have been. I don't know how it works like in Russia, but like in the States or even here in Ecuador, you'll have like a public holiday that's celebrated on Sunday, right? But like Friday and or Monday will be basically a day off work, right? At least for public officials, and kids won't have school, so on and so forth. So maybe they attacked on that Friday around the holiday because that increased the chance that no one would be there, right? If they were targeting something near a school and, the House of Culture or whatever, museum. Or they just knew that, they weren't there. The kids weren't there because they got evacuated, or they didn't give a fuck, right? What's the point? At any rate, what's the point of hitting a school where there's no one there? Well, what's the point of that? Okay, well, then that would also explain, as you see, the guy says that all border zones are closed in the Belgorod region by order of the governor, right? At the beginning of the special military operation. So that might explain why there was no one in those homes we saw at the beginning of the video, right? Why the place had overgrown, there were no footpaths, so on and so forth, right? Because people got evacuated out of there a long time ago, 8 months ago. So this is the kindergarten, and there's a huge hole in front of it, and some damage to the building. So again, another piece of shrapnel or like a small shell landed there and did what it did. But there was no one in there, right? Everyone had been evacuated 8 months ago. So from where he was off in the distance, hard to estimate how far, but 2, 3, 4, 5 kilometers, there's a whole bunch of smoke, right? So if indeed, it's likely that a rocket landed there, right? It's likely that all those rockets were headed for whatever's over there, but they got shot before they got there and did all that damage to those civilian buildings, right?
And here we can see the pillows of smoke rising above another Russian village.
Pillows of smoke.
I don't know what that is. Maybe it's military, maybe it's not. But this is just showing you that Russia itself is.
We don't know what that is. Maybe it's military, maybe it's not. We'll go over there. Let's see what it is.
Coming under attack from Ukraine. It's just not like the Western mainstream media shows you that Russia's hitting all across Ukraine, which is the fact. But Ukraine is also hitting Russia. So this isn't.
Yeah, mainstream media tells you that's what is happening, right?
Just a war inside Ukraine. This is in.
So if we are in, what's the name of the place again? So this is the village. This is from a Russian source, by the way, Russian Federation. Well, I think it is anyway. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But this is the village of Murom, which, according to 2010 census, has only less than 1,500 people in there, right? So what's the point of attacking this place, right? But off in the distance, we see a fire, right? Could it be, I mean, I don't know. Could it be the Belgorod power plant that got hit? Or is it this airport here, right? Who knows? But hopefully he'll go and show us, right?
So it is what it is. You see the billows of smoke coming off of
What is it, right?
this Russian city near the border. This is even farther away from the border than where.
Right? So maybe it is that airport, right?
we are right now. So we're going to leave you with this report in.
You're not gonna go over there and show us what that is? Wow. So Muram, which sounds like a wall or walls, appropriately named, being a border city, is like a suburb or very close to Belgorod, right? And this article says that there was a massive explosion at Belgorod airport, right? Russia's armed forces on Sunday repelled a massive attack on the airport, a city located close to the border with Ukraine. Over 10 missiles were shot down by Moscow's air defense systems that were activated, right? So it could be that those missiles, and even if this isn't exactly that instance, right, that area, what we saw in Patrick's videos, it could be a very similar situation, right? Over 10 missiles were shot down, right? Where did they go? Well, they hit the surrounding area and did all that damage that they did, right? 2 casualties, blah, blah, blah. Loud sounds. So yeah, they hit, maybe it was that airport. Clearly some airport got hit, right? You see smoke billowing, something's on fire. So will Patrick go and show us what that is? So Belgorod also had an attack on one of the recruiting places or training facility, right? Firearms training session, 2 men opened fire on a group who had volunteered to fight in Ukraine, right? Right. So there's people on the Russian side who are against this and are fighting, right? So some of that could be those people too, right? It's a border town. There's lots of Ukrainians there, or I don't know, former Ukrainians, people that are married to Ukrainians, you know, that's just is what it is, right? So this article once again talks about an airport getting hit, with Russia claiming to have shot down 10 different missiles. Okay, well, so will he go and show us where the smoke is billowing from? So far he hasn't gone there. I mean, that would be the place you would rush to, right? First. But he hasn't gone there. Maybe he will eventually, right? But let's see what his fans and viewers think of his reporting, right? The media are lying, but reality is different, right? He's media, right? Isn't he? Have my whole heart, Russian people. Stay strong. Sorry that the Western elites put you and the people in Ukraine. Well, that's pretty balanced. Oh no, this is a pro-Russian, right? My eyes have been opened. I'm in the US. I have always liked Putin, right? I am grateful that Putin is the one who dares to show the idiocy. Attacks on civilian housing, how utterly appalling, right? Great work. Thank you very much for your hard work. Everything is about Kiev, Ukraine, just one side, like you say, right? Yeah, but he's not showing you. He's telling you one side of the story, and even then he's not telling you the whole side of the story. I hate this war. Bought you some coffee. God bless Russia, right? Thank you for showing us what's happening. He's not showing you what all of which is happening. Why aren't you asking for more? Aren't you interested in what's smoking over there? Right? That's where the real damage is. Right? Well, not real, but you know, the most damage is. What a good project for giving homes for free to orphans. For free, right? Not taxpayer money, for free. This is getting unbelievable. The crimes of Ukraine must be brought to Anyway, this is Western mass formation psychosis, right? these people are so fucking brainwashed. They're so fucking right-wing woke. They're absolutely retarded, right? They're not asking any questions. They're just sheep. They believe every single thing this man says. Now, I appreciate seeing the footage. You know, he is putting his life at risk. He's showing us what's happening in Russia to some degree, some places. I appreciate that, right? I get to look at it and I get to make sense of the situation. And everything that I've seen in these couple of videos that he's shown, right? Trying to be as fair as possible, as unbiased as possible. What I'm seeing is the story that makes the most sense, also looking at what the other side of the story is corroborating, right? They both agree. Ukraine is shelling military. It makes perfect sense what they would do this. Shelling military and otherwise infrastructure to cut off Russian supply lines and, you know, to paralyze some of their operations near the border. And it's also likely that it's not just Ukraine, but also sleeper cells or Ukrainians within Russia, or, you know, Ukrainian secret services, and or just Russian civilians who are against this war. There's some partisan fighting going on, blah blah blah, whatever, right? They're not clearly, it's pretty clear that they're not targeting civilians. It doesn't make any sense. There's no evidence of them targeting civilians, but they're targeting military and otherwise infrastructure in order to, you know, paralyze, slow down the Russians, right? And Patrick is not giving you the full side of the story. He's a Kremlin fucking shill. It's Kremlin propaganda. He's full of fucking shit. And he's not an honest reporter. That's pretty obvious, right? Isn't it? What did I get wrong here, right? So, yeah, this is the sad reality of war. You know, when missiles, bullets, whatever start flying, innocent bystanders are going to get hit. You know what I mean? As sad as it is, you know, it's really sad on the other side. You know what I mean? So, and all these sheep in the comments, right? The left and the right, they're all sheep, right? If you're part of the left-right paradigm, if you've chosen sides in this war and you're supporting a political power structure, not giving a fuck about, you could say all you want about poor Russian people, right? If you were to give a fuck about people in general, you'd be mostly talking about all the innocent Ukrainians who are dying in much larger numbers than the Russians, right? If you truly cared about innocent lives being perishing, right? You don't. You're just pro-Russia. You're a Russian. You're a Putin stooge. You don't really give a fuck about lives. You only care about those innocent people on that side, right? So, yeah, these are, I don't know for a fact, but Patrick is most likely a Kremlin-sponsored, bought and paid for stooge, right? And this is just their quote unquote. This is like the Russian trolls on the internet, right? Influencing Western opinion. He's American, you know, he's a friendly face, I guess. He speaks to the American, and he's brainwashing you to support USSR, right? Support the same power structure that's threatening, whose main objective, and this has been stated for many years, is to destroy Western civilization, right? You're nihilistic as fuck. You're so brainwashed, it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's fucking sad as hell. And this is mass psychosis, where people aren't interested in the evidence. They're not interested in the facts. They're not interested in the truth. They're not interested in logic, reason, none of that stuff, right? They have chosen a side, and maybe literally they're going to go They're gonna die believing in this, right? In the very thing that claims to want to destroy them, right? As nihilistic as fuck, is absolutely retarded, and you should be ashamed of yourself, I think, if you believe this nonsense, right? Anyway, there you have it, Patrick Lancaster, right? Objective, independent, fair, right? Honest reporter. Not at all a fucking Kremlin plant. Not at all. Thanks for watching.